Liliana and Shane Stewart had been dating a year when they married in 2014. Theirs was a long-distance relationship. Shane, a divorced father of 2 teenagers, was an Alaska-based commercial pilot. Liliana was an independent single woman living in Dallas.
We decided that the best idea was going to be for me to move to Anchorage. And I was happy to do it. I could tell you that I really felt that God was in on this totally.
Before long, she started to notice a pattern.
I remember it was very early in our marriage, and I realized that his drinking was a lot more than a normal social drinker.
I wasn't an everyday drinker. I guess you'd say more of a binge drinker. I knew something in the back of my head, this was not right, but my, I guess, ego, pride, said that, there's nothing wrong with it.
Shane's drinking began in high school.
I had a lot of resentment toward my parents from childhood. That anger just kind of progressed too, and then the alcohol was somewhat of the way I managed it.
At first, Liliana overlooked his drinking, as long as he controlled it at work, as it could cost him his pilot's license. However, over the next 2 years, it got worse. She remembers one time when she was 8 months pregnant with their daughter, Shane got so drunk he passed out.
He was passed out on his lawn chair, and he was asleep for more than 3 hours. So my mind goes into worst case scenario. What if I go into labor and my husband can't drive me to a hospital? So I really started realizing that there was something that wasn't right with his drinking.
Even then, Shane continued to justify his habit.
I was making it to work, all the bills were paid. I thought, it was okay if I just came home and I'm in my own house and there's nothing wrong with, having a few drinks. Everything's taken care of.
With each passing year, Liliana's anger and resentment towards her husband grew. Then in 2017, after 3 years of marriage, the couple realized they barely knew each other.
Pretty much like roommates, we were kind of both had our separate little lives, even though we were residing in the same house.
I felt very alone and isolated. He was physically present, but he wasn't really there for us.
It was then Shane began to realize he might have a problem.
I realized that I couldn't taper off like I used to. The alcohol had really taken control at that point.
It crossed my mind that I could start over with my daughter and take her and remove her from the environment.
Despite her disappointment and frustration, Liliana decided not to pursue a divorce. Instead, she started going back to church, something she hadn't done for years.
I believed in God. I knew God. I knew Jesus was my Savior, but I did not have a relationship with God. It really became a hub for me to be able to have relationships, authentic connections with people that were real. I didn't have to pretend that I didn't have problems at home.
As she revived her relationship with God, Liliana prayed daily for her husband. But little changed. In fact, Shane was now drinking every day.
He called me one day and I was at work. He says, "I'm leaving you." He's like, "You and the kids are better off without me."
I was disappointed in myself. I guess I really felt that I was weak because I couldn't control it. I mean, it was something in my life that I truly couldn't control.
So Shane packed up his truck and drove out to a remote part of Anchorage. He says as he drove, God began showing him where his choices and addiction could lead.
I'd see the person that had pretty much lost everything. I mean, they were, at a bus stop or, in front of a storefront, and they had obvious addiction issues, and they were passed out, dirty, tattered clothes. And I felt very strongly that it wasn't too much distance between me driving in my car down the street and that person. And I just really felt the strong presence of God that says, you can't do this. You got to go back.
He did go back, but continued to drink. Liliana continued to pray. Finally, after 6 years of addiction and marriage, Shane had a breakthrough.
One day I definitely just came to the realization that I've become a slave to a cup of liquid. Liliana and I had talked a little bit, and I definitely prayed over it, and then Christ revealed to me the answer to this.
The answer was enrolling in the Celebrate Recovery program at Liliana's church, Faith Christian Community. Soon after, Shane also began attending church with Liliana and their daughter. Through prayer and the program, Shane says his desire for alcohol completely diminished. He also made a commitment to follow Christ as his Lord and Savior.
It wasn't any one profound moment. I knew, that the Lord was talking to me, that I had to do something about this. I was getting more involved with having a relationship with Christ, reading scriptures a lot more.
Shane has been sober ever since, and he's still a pilot, cherishing his time with their blended family. Liliana is now a campus pastor at their church. They're both grateful how, through prayer and faith, God delivered Shane from his addiction and gave them a marriage filled with love and respect.
You have to have faith, definitely have faith. Just keep at it, because it may not happen right away. It may take time and it may not be easy. It will work though.
My prayer was for God to take away the alcohol addiction of my husband. And he gave me a brand new man. And then I let God be God. I let him do the work. And when he does the work, this is more beautiful than what I could ever imagine.